Well, good morning, guys. Well, good afternoon, actually. We're going to go through a lot of things today. The 4-1-4-1, which one you should use. We're also going to go over build-up style defensive approach. We're not going to make this video too long, but we'll go over the tactics. So this was the weekly tactics that I mentioned that I was using, and I mentioned you can also use here the 4-1-2-1-2 wide, and this is what I've been using. Now, I don't use the 4-5-1. Now, in case you're wondering why, I just don't like to use it. Just like in other years, I've never used the 5-4-1. I mean, I know it's kind of rare to find content creators that just don't abuse mechanics, but if I wanted to win, do you not think I would just use 5-4-4-5-1 and just abuse every mechanic inside the game? There's a reason why I play a certain way because I don't find it fun. If that means that I lose a few games by not playing that way, then that's fine. I'm not competing on a pro scene where you have to abuse mechanics. Do I know how to? Of course. Do I want to? I don't. That's why I don't. I'm sure most of you guys know that for many years. But the 4-1-4-1, I use it to close the game out. So if I was to use it, I would just use the 4-1-4-1, which you could argue the sister formation of the 4-5-1, arguably better defensively. Thankfully, people don't use it. People use the 4-1-4-1 much more because they see the pro scene and they flock towards the pro scene. But the main difference is that CDM. You don't have that CDM in 4-5-1. This is again my closing out formation, but if you were to use the 4-5-1, it's identical. Now, why would you use the 4-5-1 instead? Let's ignore what the pros are doing because pros are on a different level. I think someone who's watching this video needs to understand a pro can probably get 15-0 with a basic goal team and any formation inside the game. It's not the formation that makes them. But on the pros anyway, we'll go over some of that gameplay. The 4-5-1, you have that 5 midfield, you have the structure, and then you have the center mid that helps you in attack. And that's what's key with the 4-5-1. And you have that flat line of 5. It's better for pressing the ball and trying to win the ball up, but also in possession when you're attacking, that center mid is a bit better for rotation. So the 4-1-4-1, as I mentioned to you on Friday's video, is more of the I need to close the game out with one CDM. I can be a bit more defensive minded, whereas that 4-5-1 is very balanced. If you're asking me personally speaking, this is the most boring way to play. I already hate playing against Park the Bus. Do you think I want to go ahead and play so slowly where I have to wait for my left mid and right mid to go forward? Now, people don't understand. Look, I don't play the pro game mode as much as you think. I play it here and there. I'll be honest. I don't really enjoy it, to be honest. But like remember back in the day, I used to talk about using short passing and possession. When I'm super tryharding, as I've always said to you, I've always used possession, which was the basic, the old short passing, but it requires so much L1 triggers. If I go ahead and give this to you, and then I give it to everyone else, it's probably going to make them play worse. So if I made this in a tactics video and I released it out there, people, especially people who don't watch the video, they're just going to copy the tactics and they're going to lose and they're going to end up blaming me. Now, personally speaking, I still go towards balanced. I think if I'm tryharding, I honestly go towards balance. I think that is the best. Short passing for me, although I think it's good, for my play style, I don't really like it too much. I mean, yes, if I was doing a lot more player locks and so on, but I personally don't. So I'm using balanced if I'm tryharding. If I'm playing casually, let's say I'm playing weekend league, or that's what I consider casual, or in the elite division, I'm just playing, I'm going to be using counter. I still think it's the best one to go. The AI runs can help you a lot, and I feel like you can just relax to play. I think when it comes to something like short passing, you really have to focus and try hard. I remember like I used to use a lot on FIFA 21, 22, and 23, and even up until last year. And when they changed it, I used a possession equivalent. But the problem is, although players they come towards you, which is good, there's a lot of L1 triggers, and I feel like you have to use a lot of player locks with this. So unless you're using a lot of player locks, a lot of L1 triggers, I would probably steer away from short passing for most formations, and I would go to balanced if you really want the players to come towards you. But otherwise, I would say for the masses, for most people watching this video, counter is the way to go. And the problem is the 4-5-1, specifically this formation, if you use balanced, it is so slow to play for the average player. Again, the professional scene is something different because they're just trying to abuse the game. They're just trying to win the game at all costs. So it's different for them who know how to L1 trigger, who know how to play a lock, who know how to bring these players going forward when you win possession. and they know, for example, how to hold up play with the striker and abuse those through balls. The average person doesn't use through balls that much with their strikers. They use their strikers to make that run in behind and then score a goal. Whereas the pro scene, they're using that striker to, yes, make that run in behind, but it's made to distribute through balls, more of that link up player. So something you just got to bear in mind when you're using this or when you're seeing pro tactics, understand why they do it. And sometimes you might see some pros using short passing, you might see some using balanced. Again, it's all personal preference. As I always teach you, always adjust your tactics for your own play style. If I use, for example, playmaker, and I go ahead and I put this in a video, and let's say, for example, Anders may use something like this as well, the average person who copies this, they're going to lose because they don't know how to defend. This is why I say codes are basically pointless. Yes, you can use them as a template, but they mean nothing unless you adjust, especially now in foot IQ. Back in the day when foot IQ is a bit of a disaster, but back in the day when the old tactic system, it was kind of okay if you put, for example, get in behind, because they're just going to get in behind. They might make a move on the outside, on the inside. It depends contextually where the ball in your player is. Whereas this year, inside forward is just going to be inside forward, or playmaker is just going to be playmaker. They're not going to intelligently sit back when, for example, someone's got an extra player in midfield. They won't do that. So you have to understand the foot IQ system is rigid, which actually makes it harder for you to be a bit more flexible and dynamic. So it's something just to bear in mind when you are making those tactics. Now, the defensive approach, I always go with 60. I think this is the good sweet spot if you're asking me. I like high on a 4-4-2. I would say veer between 60, because the reason why I like 60, I mean, look, it's the highest you can go before you go into high territory. Now, high territory is pretty good if you like to press the ball, but most people, they don't really press unless they are losing per se. And I think, let's be realistic. Cut the crap. Let's no BS. We all know the best way to defend is to be passive this year. So that is why, again, when I give this defensive approach, you can use high, but use it for an attacking formation, because people take things literally. If I said use extreme, if you want to use it for an all-out formation, there's probably going to be someone out there that's not listening, and they're going to use it for an all-out defensive formation as an example. So be smart in your choice as well. Think about why you're doing this. The whole idea is, one day when I'm not here, let's say, for example, I decide to close up shop. I don't think I will. It's a big hobby of mine. But let's say one day, I don't know, let's say I died. Let's say there's no more Nil guides, no more guy rambling, talking nonsense, calling you out on camera because he wants you to get better. Then you'd be like, okay, what do I do now? There might be some other creator that might help you. But the idea is that okay, hi, I know how my players react. That way, if I'm inside a game and someone is beating the press, I know that I need to make some changes, or maybe, for example, build up style if you're using short passing, and maybe, for example, the player you're playing against, or maybe you're just not playing that well in that situation and you're tired, you came back home from work, you haven't got time to sit there, try harding, player locking, L1 triggers. You got to make those changes. So the 4-5-1, I think, compared to the 4-1-4-1, I think 4-5-1 is the more balanced system. In fact, this week on Friday, we'll have like a full setup. I know people have been asking me for a full setup for the 4-1-4-1 and a 4-5-1, different variations. We'll go over that this week. But this would be the balanced one per se. And the 4-1-4-1 with the CDM would be the one that I would either start the game with, you could argue, or I would close the game out with it. But me personally speaking, that is my alarm going off. Apologies. But me personally speaking, I just don't like to play it. I just think, for me, it's way too defensive. And I understand, for example, people that want to really win inside the game, then go ahead and do it. But also, you got to remember a few things as well. What pros are doing and what you're doing is two completely different things. I would say most people are probably going to attack much better in some sort of 4-2-3-1 second the variation, and maybe you could argue a better defensively than the 4-5-1. The 4-5-1, you have to really know what you're doing. So I know you have that defensive line and people are just literally grabbing the center mids and bringing it back, but you have to bear in mind, adjust the things that work for you. Just because pros do this, and for example, like this is, for me, is the best attacking formation inside the game. I think it's almost guaranteed the best attacking formation inside the game. Does it cost you defensively? Yes, because you only have one CDM. But the reason why I made this formation last week is because if you are really struggling to attack someone, you need something. Let's say you're losing 2-0 and you can't break down someone defending in a 4-1, park the bus. You need a solution. And staying on, for example, a 4-5-1, where you're basically in this shape where you're sitting back, you're midfield five, you've only got one striker, and realistically, to press the ball with this formation, the 4-4-2 is naturally the best formation to press the ball with. With an extra centre mid, it's easier for your opponent to hold the ball around your striker and just pass the ball around. Now, a top tier player would normally use teammate contain and bring the right mid manually going forward to cut out the lanes or to help with one of the centre mids. The average player does not do these things. So that's why I'm not saying don't use it, but I'm just saying be a bit more smarter in your decision making of, okay, when do I use it inside the game? Don't just use it when you're losing 3-0. You got to be smart about those things. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Always adjust it. The whole reason why I make these tactics videos every Friday and the weekend, and you realize if I wanted to, I could keep the tactics videos the same. And I always say this, but everyone keeps asking, can you add new stuff in it? Because I want to give different variations. The 4-2-2, I'll make a video on this on Friday. It's still a very good formation, but just because no one else plays doesn't mean you don't have to not play it just because no one else is playing it. Remember, the pro scene is one thing, but think about yourself. Unless you're going for like the 14, 15s, and let's say maybe you're a 13-0 player and you really want to squeeze every single ounce, then I understand. But let's say, for example, you're a 9-6 player or whatever, right? Think about this carefully. Do you really want to go super try hard for one more win in the weekend league? Okay, that, let's be honest, the rewards they're a bit better now, but they're not as they once were. So you got to weigh these things into account. But again, I know everyone wants to get better, but just something just to bear in mind. So I think either of them are good. It's just that me personally speaking, I don't like playing that way. I know it's quite hard to understand that there's only a few creators like myself who play basic football. I don't think anyone is a bit mad as me doesn't score outside the box, who doesn't score headers and stuff like that. But you have to understand, if someone wants to win, I can close my eyes and use any formation. I could choose this one, or it's a bit meta. Let's just go again. This is go again like this. 4-5-1 attack. I would just start spamming through balls, player locks, triggering a fullback, spam that through ball. I'll be doing finesse shots outside the box with precision shooting. I'll be getting the ball, subbing on a player like Peter Crouch and just crossing the ball to him, heading the ball downwards for a first time pass, or I'll be heading to score a goal if I really wanted to. But it's not the way that I want to play. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that just gave you just a bit of an indication of what my thinking is, how I'm going about it. Don't forget, if you want to get better at FC26, you can come join my Patreon series. We are, of course, still updating this, as I've always said, for less than the price of a Nando's meal. Cheaper to actually buy my FC school. Nando's is actually a joke now. I went Nando's. Honestly, I got, what was it? I'll tell you my order anyway. Butterfly chicken or some chicken thighs, medium, 2 sides, peri chips, and I normally get a broccoli. Try to be a bit healthy, right? A bottomless drink. It's like £19-20. Absolute joke. Anyway, that's beside the point. But anyway, we have the course at FC School. We got all the videos. FC School's always been updated, as we know. We're doing a bit more attacking tools, like for example, how to not lose the ball, for example, and how to build up play, keeping the ball in possession. Of course, we have all the defending videos. So if you're struggling to defend, you can watch the defending videos. And then, of course, we do have the updated videos. So we also have, for example, the meta mechanics. These are just the meta things inside the game that you can be using. So let's say, for example, you know what, Neil, I understand what you're saying, but I just want to abuse the game for what it is. The first time, remember this video I made about the Leeds tutorial, first time shots? You've seen it now in the pro scene, but I released this in 21st of October. So people are talking about this now, but realistically, it was the meta like in the first 2 weeks or so, and these through balls. So everything you saw on the professional scene last week, which we'll make a video on, everything you see on the pro scene, we will go over that as well. We've already gone through that and the lofted pass, you've seen that a lot on the pro scene. Everything's in my Patreon says we learn it in depth, when to use it, how to use it, where to use it, and of course visual examples. And of course we have pro gameplay. What we're gonna do as well. I know a lot of you guys like the pro scene, and so do I. So we got some real life examples. We actually updated one recently. I actually did one yesterday, I think. Yeah, we did the losing the ball, Sunderland versus Arsenal. Perfect example. When Sunderland winning 1-0 ahead, should not have lost the ball. But we will also we're going to be going over some pro gameplay example. You'll be finding this here. It won't be uploaded today by the time you're watching this, but in a few days we'll go through some FC gameplay tips and pro analysis as well. Biggest library of gameplay footage, patreon.com/no guys. If you don't get above the 1 month, we will refund your price, and no guys guarantee. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace.